This daf Yerushalmi Shekalim. The article owes additional mamash at top of Zayin Rav at the beginning of the Gemara, and the Vilna Yerushalmi. It's evidently towards the end of Yud Amud Beis. Those meaning the Gemara, and in the Vilna Bavli Yerushalmi, it is on Daf Zayin Amud Beis again, the beginning of the Gemara. Okay, so we're talking about when they were given for the mace. They collected money for the mace, assuming he had no money. And it turns out, for him, so he had money. So what do the money collected? We have several Meimar Mosa Mace Yorshav. And Yirmiyah said, it's Mosa Mace, it goes to Yorshav. Even though he had money, he goes to the heirs, like the Tanakam Mishnah. On Rabbi the Chutrei, Rabbi of Chutrei, it's evidently a name of the place where it came from, said, Chutrei means a stick. But anyway, Hagatzmcha. Imagine this, can you say this? They only had a mind for him, and he turns out that he had. So therefore, it was all a mistake. So we shouldn't be zarking them at all. So why should the Yorshim get it? Right? It's like a mekach toos. It's in the nidvas toos. Says the Gemara. Omar Lay said, so the normal, most unfortunately, is Rabbi Yirmiyah is critiquing him and saying, I didn't say this, you're my Talmud, how would you know this? He says, Mechtese. But the article brings down that the Rosh Paskins, like Rav Idi the Chutrei, that the money goes back to the original givers because it was a toes. It says it was for Neder Shel Tos and was never acquired by the mace. And I saw my cousin, for Yerushalmi, brings out for the Mechal Maim. He's Mechal Maim. The Mechal Maim says, learns this like as a shevach. Said, wow, Ana Law Maurice, I didn't say this. How did you know now? I'm impressed. You came with the son of the big Ashkoyer. He brings down Tosis and Erevin, Dav Sachar Beis, who says, Ein Elo Divrei Nevius. And Mark criticized something like it's just Nevuah, it comes out of nowhere. And Tosis says, no, it's a shevach. Ein Elo Divrei Nevius. Wow, this is like a Nevuah, you came with something amazing. So here too, the same thing. You can learn like that way, like the Mechal Maim. That was really, wow, an amazing thing that he came up with, and Rosh Taka Baskins that way. Okay, then the Gemara says, we said in the Mishnah, Rabbi Nosson said, if extra money is collected, and according to Rabbi Yechutrei, they actually didn't need the money, but he had excess funds. So now, most MAC, even though it's Nefesh Al Kibro. And in this brisa, it says also, Yaselo Zilu Vagami Mitoso. You could also use it to sprinkle fragrant liquids on the liquid frame wine on the stretcher which is being taken, which is also considered to be a covered mace. So it's just an alternative. In other words, since I also do a covered mace, but again, I saw my cousin. He says, a very nice idea. He says, he doesn't know whether it's a minhag like this, but he says it's a minhag that, in other words, what the source it seems is a minhag, we don't change matzevas in an area, make all matzevas more or less uniform. So, a lot of Batei Kvaros like that. Some not. Most Batei Kvaros, I think, are matzevas more or less uniform throughout an area. So, therefore, what are you going to do? How are you going to, what's the main Yasel and Nefesh? You should make for this one guy, you're going to make the big mausoleum. It's going to look different than everybody else. Then we go against the minhag. So he says, no, but Dafka, Yasel is the guy with us. So it's going to be this alternative where you can't change the matzev. It's a nice shot. There you would actually make a Zilu Vagami Mitaso. Ain't playing him Shava. You can't redeem one captive, another captive. In other words, the Kram A learns that in Payim Shabbat Gavu most it's Shabbat is that also Shabbat Acher. I feel Shani other Merishon. If you even if the second one is superior to the first one, you can't change them. They're collected for the first Shabbat, you can't change what it says and change the second Shabbat. The Reb Chaim says means if you collected for the Shabbat and there's left over, you can't use the Moiser for somebody else. A different shot. The Marav Fulda gives a shak pshuto, although I don't think necessarily that's it works out in Svara. He says if you played up Reuven and then Shimon came along and he's more chashiv, you can't take Reuven and say, okay, you guys take Ruvain and give us Shimon. Um, uh, the he says they give me it's part of the deal. It says the Ruvain I guess was worth less, so they give Ruvain another $100 and it'd be put a Shimon. But then why is it Shavi v'Shavi? I mean, it's just anybody, right? Any guy can just use to switch, not necessarily Shavi. So I think it's probably the pshat and like either the Carbonado or the Reb Chaim, not like the Marafulda. But ain't going house, but if you they grab money for talis for a certain ani, and there's money left over, so they can't give it to another ani. It belongs to that person from whom they collected it. It's that's Reb Chaim L'Shitos is going on Mosar, right? So by Mosar. The Mosar of a Shavi, he has the Mosar of Talis, and the Korban Eda L'Shitos. So says that if they get money to buy talis, this talis, they can't change it to buy another talis, right? So the L'Shitos is going on one just by this. You can't use it. You can't collect for one. You can't use it for another Shavi. You can't use it for one talis you intended for second talis intended for first talis. So again, should have said it better the other way around. Korban Eda says going. L'Shitoso is going on the actual thing, right? The Shavli, don't say another Shavli, Taos, another Taos. Reb Chaim is going on the Moser. Can't use the Moser for one Shavli, another Shavli, can't Moser for Taos for another Taos. But, Ein Memachim Yar Parnosin. The Parnos, as the Korban says, they have like a super authority. Because Daita Hachi Nitu, Shim Starchish Shano Sel Gaboim. So Gaboim have the right to switch things around, and if they decide, presumably they're going specifically on the Talis case, but not in the Shabbat case, but maybe even the Shabbat case as well. In other words, they have the right to switch things around because of their authority. The Pasha is going on the Talis, not on the Shvuim, but I can't tell you for sure. That's what he says. It says Igros Moshe has a tshuva about garments which are collected in America for Polish refugees, and they can't get them to Europe for some reason where they can use them for other purposes. So I guess one could look that up. Igros Moshe, you're there, Aleph, page Siman Kuf Mem Ois Ches. I guess that's where it is. Rabbi Mishum Gamliel Mer Ein Od Sim Nefashos LeTzadikim. Very famous statement. You don't make monuments for tzadikim. Divreim Heimem Zichroinam. Their words are how we commemorate them, not by edifices. As some wag once said in America, Jews suffer from edifice complexes. No, we don't make edifices. We remember what they said, and that is the living memorial. Okay, the next Gemara appears a couple of places in Yerushalmi. Rabbi Yochanan have a mitzvah for us, Rabbi Chia bar Abba. Rabbi Yochanan was walking along and he was leaning on Rabbi Chia bar Abba, and have Rabbi Lezer Chamilein. Rabbi Lezer saw him, but and hid himself from Rabbi Yochanan. Amar, he said, so Rabbi Yochanan was annoyed. He said to Rabbi Chia bar Abba, two things this Babylonian that came from Babel is doing wrong. First of all, he doesn't come and inquire as to my health. Right? Besides that, he hides himself. So this is annoying. Rabbi Yochanan expect him to come and inquire, greet him, right? Directly. So the Gemara says, Rabbi Yaakov evidently was accompanying Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Chia bar Abba. He said, this is what they do. This is what the Babylonians do. The Zira lo shel b'shlomei the Rabbah. The younger ones don't come and greet the older ones. It's said to be like a lack of derech eretz. The inu nagin umekaimin, and they also they have the custom and fulfill. Ra'uni narim benechbo. The youngsters saw me and they hid. Whereas the elders came and stood together with him. So Paskin Eov. So he considered himself to be very low relative to you. Therefore, he did not come out and inquire the health, and also hid in front of you. That's how they showed that their respect towards the Gedolim. Okay, so Amar Lei. So the Archbishop said to him, as they're walking along, Malam Abad, Mam Abad Kame Darura Tzilma. What is the is one allowed to pass go in front of a cursed Avodah Zarah, or should go circumvent it, go around it. So Amar Lei said, "Ma Palki." This is part of the conversation. Bear in mind. We'll see. Amar Lei Ma Palki Yikar. So what are you going to give it honor? In other words, to go around it like that is giving it honor. Avor Kamoy V'Samei walk in front of it and close your eyes. So now Yaakov, for some reason, the Reb Chaim said Reb Chia is the one, Reb Chia Abba speaking. Not sure you could tell. Went back to Reb Chia Abba, but anyway. So he said, I'm like, we see, you see, going around something is deferential to it, and therefore you don't want to defer to Avodah Zarah, so go straight in front of it. So too, Rabbi Lezer, who went around, so to speak, who hit himself, he's being deferential to you. Okay. So Rabbi Lezer says, okay, yeah, fine, but I have another time, Rabbi Lezer. Also, he does something else. The Aloma Shemaita B'Shmei. He doesn't say over when he says over Sugyas. He doesn't say Sugyas in he says over Shmuel's things which I said. He doesn't say in my name. Why does he not say Davar B'Shem Oimro? Okay, he wants to explain on why Rabbi Yochanan said about this. Okay, so Rabbi Yochanan's upset. This is in front of Rabbi Yam V'Avasi. Rabbi Yamasi came in front of him, tried to supposed to be calmed down. They said to him, Rebbe, this was a story in the shul of the coppersmiths. But Nagashesh Boshagusa, they got in the machlekes about an issue with a stick which has a knob at the top. There's several issues in halacha which have to do with sticks with knobs. Shech Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Yosef, Lezer, and machlekes about it. Achakoru Sefer Torah b'chamosim. So they ripped the Sefer Torah in their anger. So Gemara says, did they actually rip a Sefer Torah? How could it possibly be? Even got angry. There are limits. Ella shenikra Sefer Torah out of the Riska Daraisa because they got so upset. So the Torah got ripped up. And Hayasham Zakin Echad, there was a certain elder there, Rabbi Yosef Kisma show. His name is Rabbi Yosef Kisma. I believe it was a Tana, he was in Pirkei Avos, I think. And Barami said to me, honey, I'm be astounding. Loya basic necessary avodah zarah. If the basic this shul would not become avodah zarah because of this terrible ma'aseh with kas which happened here. So Rabbi Yochanan shouldn't get angry. So because of Rabbi Yochanan came back and said, that is true when you talk about friends. In other words, friends should not get angry at each other. But I'm his Rebbe, and he's my Talmud, and if I have a Kpeda, he should be aware of it. A famous letter from in the Igros of Rav Hutner. I think it's just one line in the book where he wrote to a student. He said, it doesn't say in the book who it's to, but says, so you know that I'm not moichel you. In other words, Rav Hutner was saying, similar to Rabbi Yochanan, he's saying, you have to know that you're doing something wrong. I'm your Rebbe. It's no game I cover. It's not. That's not the point. The point is you have to know that has the proper attitude, and Rabbi Elazar is supposed to be aware that if it's not a proper attitude, that he's not saying all things in his Rebbe's name. He has to be masakin that. So Rabbi Yaakov came back. It says, everything that Moshe Rabbeinu was commanded by Kosh Baruch Hu commanded Yoshua. Now, you think of a shul called Dibur Yoshua V'Doresh Omer Kachar Moshe. The Yoshua, when he said in Darshan, you have to say everything was said by Moshe Rabbeinu. Yoshua Yoshua would sit and Darshan. Sorry, everyone know. Shator Moshe, they know the Torah is Moshe Rabbeinu. Afatah. Elazar Talmidcha Yoshev Daresh. Elazar, your student is sitting in Darshan. Everyone knows the Torah is yours. I saw in the offer Yerushalmi asked, well, all the Torah is yours. Everything he said. Didn't Elazar say anything on his own? I'm not so sure. And he tries to answer that up. I'm not sure one has to who asked to had that question. I'm not so sure the question is a valid question because we know he wrote over the Torah, whatever the case is. The point is, everybody knows he's a Talmud. Rabbi Yochanan goes to Yochai's Malach. We can tell Rabbi Yochai's Malach, and Rabbi Lezer says. So it's superfluous for him to say everything in the name of his Rebbe. So Amar Lem, so Rabbi Yaakov, so Rabbi Yochanan said, so I guess Rabbi Yasi, name ma ein atem yodim ratzos k'vein idi chaverenu. How come you don't know how to make me feel better, how to calm down like the son of Idi, our friend? Rabbi Yochanan, boy, the Yom Shmaitzim B'Shmei. So Rabbi Yochanan, he wanted people to say statements in his name, and I'm not sure if it's a question or the Rabbi puts in Mike High. Is that in the Gemara itself somewhere? Yes, in the Shirnus Chos. Okay, the Shirnus Chos makes it down. I guess it's from the one of the other Tfusim. So Michael, the boy, why is it so important to Rabbi Yochanan to ask that they should say things in his name? And after David David Melech asked David that people should say over things in his name. Shneimah says, Agura balecha olamim. I should live in your tents forever. I should take shelter in the shelter of your wings for eternity. The David thing is going to survive forever. David said for Kosh Baruch Hu the following: Burn Shalom, Master of the universe. Eskesh yud v'rayne morim b'tek neosios u'b'tei midrashos. That people should say over my words in Batei Knesses and Batei Medrash, and presumably, although it doesn't say explicitly, that they should say it over in his name. The Korban says, "Mishnah the boy should rot Hashem mishmo mishmo af la'achar misoso. V'imchayev lo yomu mishmo koshken la'achar moisai." You know, he's saying that if I want people to say things over in my name after I'm dead, so then they just have to start during my lifetime. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. So the Takachati says a nice thing here. But they Knesset, although I don't know if it's Shah, but they Knesset, but in Midrash, they Knesset, Yomer Tilosov Tilosov. In the base Knesset, they'll say over here, the Tehillim and Tfilos, she wrote. Base Medrash, Yomer Dvar Loch and Mishmo. And base Medrash, will say over Dvar Loch in his name. Okay? And he says, the Tfil Chai Shob, Tfil Tor Chai Olam, Beineg Olam Azeb Olam Abba. Okay, that's a bit more of a Jewish side, but it's a nice idea. So the Gemara says, Shimon ben Nazir, B'Shem Yitzchak said that the significance of this is that Tam Chacham Shomid Var Loch Mipi B'Olam Hazeh. Tam Chacham, even after he's dead, as I said, Var Loch in his name in this world, his lips move together with the person who's saying the Dvar Torah in his name in the kever. Dovev sifsei shonim. Baruch Hu dovev, which we're attaching here like to make, to mumble, like to the dovev, like to vibrate. The lips of the people are sleeping. It's like a pile of grapes. It's very, very sensitive. This pile of grapes, which is there for pressing. When you touch it, it's just a drop. Miyad, dove means that's vibrating. Af, Avsiv Sosenshal Tzadikim, Kem Shemit Varloch Mipiem, the ones that say Varloch in their name, Siv Soseim, Misrach Shosi Moem. Their lips move with them, Bakever, even in the grave. So I assume it's mostly symbolically, but the idea is that there's hanoah for the neshama in Olam Emes when Torah is being said in its name in this world. So Yochanan wanted this to put this in motion, like the Carbonator said. So if he wanted people to say things in his name, even in this world. The Bar Nazira Amar, And Bar Nazir, I guess himself, Shimon ben Nazir himself said, "Kadein shatei kunditon." It's a pleasure for the person who in Olam HaEmes, as if he's drinking kunditon is a type of wine which is mixed with spices, a fine wine. Yitzkamar kadein shatei chomaritik. He says like somebody who drinks old wine, and old wine has a long aftertaste. Avogad is such that they tame befume. Even though you drank it, still the taste remains in his mouth. Now, Kormei is a very strange shot, so it's worth seeing because it is interesting. Plike, there's a machlekes. Man are commanded shasa kunditin, but in a nami shasa maisim tovin. He also has to do good deeds in order for him to have his experience after death. Should have done good being kunditin, just like in the sangria, I think it's called in English, is kunditin wine. The obisamim tovin, there are other good spices. If they say aloch in his name, that's insufficient. It's like he drank old wine. Lolam hani le'amiras halacha. The halacha works even without Maisin Tovim. Shoes so said Dovas Makever. If that's his lips are moving in the grave. So a person is a Talmud Chacham, even if he doesn't have Maisim Tovim, the fact that people say something in his name, it's a special honor for his neshama, even if he didn't have Maisim Tovim, which is fascinating. My cousin Yerushalmi says, I think it's Pasha. He says it's not unless they argue. Kunditin has a very strong taste, but it doesn't last. It's on the spot. The Yoshin doesn't have necessarily a strong taste, but it lingers. So obviously there are two different milos here. One is that at the moment there's the shmu is being said in the name of the person who's nifter. There's very powerful sense of pleasure for the neshama, kaviyachol, and the other saying that, and that lingers afterwards. So the two aspects. Gadil Omer, Rav Gidel said, Omer Davar B'Shem Omer, somebody says something in the name of the person who said, Yira Baal Shmukil Omer Legdo. You should see the person who's standing as if he's standing opposite you. Shem Ach B'Tzelem Yishalech Ish. The pasuk in Tehillim, Ach B'Tzelem Yishalech Ish, Ach Hevel Yemoyin Tzvav Leida Miasfeim. I guess if you go with the Tzelem, with the image, then you can go with confidence. But the person who doesn't know what they're gathering, then they won't have the same degree of confidence in what they're saying. In other words, just like when you see somebody, when you're learning, like it said, the Chachim, I think, maybe Basroi, that's why maybe even from behind when he was saying over Shmuel, but certainly if you watch the Rebbe, you have much more of a powerful and precise understanding what's going on. Chacham taught him Torah Panav, right? You have this Chacham which comes from seeing the Rebbe saying what he's saying. So in your mind's eye, when you're saying something over from your Rebbe, you should have in mind your Rebbe's countenance, and that will sharpen and enhance what you're saying. For Yerushalmi, and this brings down the Yerushalmi from Sanhedrin, Daf Vav, says very different shot. He says, and he's saying over a pshat in the name of somebody, he becomes at that moment your Rebbe. If you image him in your mind, it's as if you're in a kind of it's a nice shot. I don't think it's a bunch shot, but it's a very nice shot. Okay, presumably Rav Gidel is going on here. Rov Adam Mikra Ish Chazdo, the Ish Amini Miyim Tza. Let's see, Carmelo. Rov Adam, Rov Adam, Chulei Zeh Sharkam, Bachi Busha, Rov Adam Mikra Ish Toraso, the Eino Makri Loma Shem Omer. Most people will read Torah and not say over who they're saying over from. Lishachi another pshat Rov Sheba Adam, Misha Rav Sheba Adam, Misha Migala B'Torah, somebody's great in Torah. Yikra called Ish Torah's Chesed Shel Shono. Each person will call out Torah's Chesed, which he had on his tongue. Shem Shmos Mishmo Mipi Shmu Bilvad. They're going to say out do a Chesed and say things over his name, but they're not going to have the same as the Isha Munim Miyim Tzah, which is who actually knew the person and b'tzelem yisalech ish. In any event, the Gemara says that this Isha Munim Miyam Tza, who was Mekayim b'tzelem yisalech ish, the Zeh Rabbi Zira. That's Rabbi Zira. Dam Rabbi Zira said, so lama li shanu tzrichim yichushay l'shmaited Rav Sheshes. This is the Shinui Schos has the Girsa lama li anu shanu tzrichim lama leis anu tzrichim choshim l'shmusay the Rav Sheshes, which is also where the art scroll goes, which is more precise, it seems. We're not, and I think this way it appears elsewhere in Shas this way. We don't have to be concerned with the things which, not Ruach Hashem, but Chosh Hashem, with statements which are Sheshes, makes in the names of others, who Gavra Mefashcha, because he's a person who is blind. Lashon Saginor. Mefashcha means open, but like Bilam says, no fellow gluinine, but which means he was blind in one eye. So he was since he was blind, so therefore he couldn't see the person who he was quoting, and therefore he was not an Isha Munim in the sense he couldn't be precise. Even he said the words, he couldn't get the feeling behind it. So therefore, his having said it, it was not as valid. I don't think he meant literally that based on the question at all, but it's not as valid as somebody who saw the person when he was saying the words which he said. Okay, the Marafal that says maybe he thought he was that a certain person was saying it, but somebody else was really saying it because he didn't see who it was. Okay, I don't think that's the shot, but in any event, here the Tag Chatin does quote that okay, we'll stop here for today, even though it goes on, but we've gone long enough for today.